What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in to a little power hour. Got the one and only Miss Beverly with us. How are you this morning?
I am wonderful. Excited to be here.
Always. I guess it's noon your way.
It is.
Nice. How are things in the ATL?
Rainy and nasty. I need some sunshine very horribly.
So that means it'll be humid later. Extremely humid later.
It has been very humid. That's what Atlanta is, right? The hot Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta. You know, it's crazy. You know, we were sitting out. We went over to Alex and Sarah's last night, and we were sitting out on the back patio, and I was like, God dang, how beautiful it is. Like, you know, typically this time of the year, you can't be like the sun. I mean, we were out. He was grilling out. It was beautiful. So it's been a weird.
It's been very weird.
Very weird so far.
Yep.
We'll take it though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Power Hour, just Q&A, whatever's on your mind, feel free to ask. I definitely will kind of kick us off with a couple things kind of on my mind. You know, going through the process of, you know, putting a home on the market, and, you know, it's been personally been out of the trenches for quite some time, I guess. Me personally, selling. When was the last when we moved down here? It had to be 13 or 14, and then, you know, the brokerage side of things wrapped up in 17. So getting to actually be in the trenches and see the inner workings was kind of cool. And you know, just following that process. And I would say if we Bev, if we had to put the home on the market maybe 2 months ago, I think it would have been pretty ridiculous. We ended up still having over 30 showings. So we put it on Thursday, no showings until Friday. So showings Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with an open house, and no showings past 5. And so I think we had over 30 showings, had 20 people come through the open house, and 5 offers and accepted 1. And so, you know, just kind of seeing that process. But I know if it would have been maybe 2 months ago, I think it would have been crazier than that.
I think you're right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you're seeing in the market, kind of, you know, where you're at, but just being able to experience it, but also all the agents across the country are kind of the same thing, right? It's like those buyers that, you know, are just emotionally exhausted, that can't win, are maybe on the sidelines, and the ones that have to buy are really the wherewithal to buy are the ones that are making really ridiculous competitive offers. And so that's inside. It's kind of what we've seen. What are you seeing?
Well, what's interesting about that whole perspective, when I was doing my market report, I realized in a particular price range, it was 650 to 700,000. There were a lot of contracts written, but when you looked at the amount of closings over the 6 months, the numbers weren't matching as you were moving in the $50,000 price ranges. And I was like, this is really crazy. So I looked at the price range below in the 6 to 650 range, and there were very few contracts written and a lot of closings happened. So now when I say very few, I just mean the numbers didn't make sense. And when I pulled the 650 to 700,000 homes that sold, there were price adjustments that were lower and the closings were lower. So what we have found here, the buyers started getting wise because they knew that they were going to be up against so many multiple offers. So if they were approved to 650, they were looking at homes at 600. Because they knew they couldn't look at a 650 and pay 650.
Right.
Or if they were approved to 700, they were looking at 600 because they were escalating 75,000 over, 100,000 over. So people were looking below their price ranges. And then what happened is agents started overshooting the market and listing too high. So the homes were getting missed and having to, so if they would have gotten 700, if they listed at 625, but they listed at 700 and they were out of the market, but they weren't really.
Right.
But it was how the buyers became, and the listing and the agents became conditioned to a new environment.
And I think that's where, on the buy side, and this is why, and this is going to lead me into an article that I was sent this morning, why as a buyer's agent representative, right, being skilled and understanding the market. So like when we would do our market absorption analysis and kind of competitive on pricing, we had a simple rule of thumb, right? If there was less than, X number of months of inventory on the market, we would be 10% or higher than what we feel the market should be. If it's a balanced market, obviously we're going to be even. If there's oversupply, we're going to be 10% below. And I think you have to take the same principle to the buy side and educate, be a true advisor to the clients and educate them on, hey, here's how pricing works, right? So yes, you're approved to 6, but the top of your price range, just like what you said, is going to be probably 540, right? 530 is going to be it. And so being able to have that understanding, but it takes a true expert, because shit is probably going to get real in the next couple years, right? I think no matter what, and this, talking to a lot of influential people within the industry, we only have a good 4 or 5 year run. After that, all bets off, right? And as things are, okay? Mm-hmm. So I want to share this article that was sent to me, and this was an article that was in the Wall Street Journal on Friday. And let's see. So you can kind of see it right there, but it's really talking about NAR, and they haven't made a comment on this yet. But what's essentially what is happening is making a push to how the money flows being compensated to the buyer's agent. And so, hey, it's 6%, right? Seller, 3 to the listing, 3 to the buyer. Well, what the stance that they're starting to take and push against is, well, that shouldn't be that way. The buyer should end up being able to choose how much their agent that they're working with gets compensated, because in reality, who's paying that fee? The buyer is in their mortgage. Yeah, true. Right? Yes. So that's really where the money flows. Mm-hmm. Now, the seller is hey, well, you're taking from some of my proceeds, but the buyer's making the payment. So what the stance that they're starting to take is that it shouldn't be that way. The buyer should, and they use the example of a law firm, right? Like if you're in court, you pay for your attorney, they pay for their attorney. Now you can sue and who pays what, but you can go get a rock star and pay tens of thousands of dollars in attorney fees, or you can go get the guy that's just out of law school that you're going to get at a discount. And so why would an agent that's brand new into the industry that doesn't have any experience or any knowledge, that is an order taker, be compensated the same as somebody like you that's been in the industry, that knows, that has a differentiated value proposition, that can sit down and take a buyer through a buying strategy process, articulate your value? Why would you not be compensated more than the agent that's right out of school? And so that's the stance that they're starting to position. But here's where it's going to get real interesting. It's going to get real interesting with Zillow. It's going to get real interesting with Redfins. It's going to get real interesting with those tech companies that are putting agents on salaries, right? So how is the model going to get thrown around? And it's coming. And so if we know that to be true, what are you doing as a buyer's agent to develop the skill set and the capabilities to where now it's like, let me interview a couple agents. How are you going to stand out, agent right out of school versus somebody coming to sit down with you? See the wheel spinning.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going, oh God, that's kind of scary, right? It's like we're going into the unknown. And it's like, what do we need to do to stay ahead of it? Because that's the whole game, right? We don't want to be the freaking Blockbuster to Netflix. We want to be the Netflix.
This makes me like lean in even more of why you have to become positioned as the go-to authority when it comes to buying, selling, investing in real estate. I mean, you have to. You've got to have the tools. I mean, you've got to be able to have the process. And you go back to, Chris Voss, never split the difference from a negotiation. What is, one of the principles that he teaches is that the person has to believe that's right, not that you're right. So I have to believe that Beverly's process to help me buy the home with the best terms is what's right. Not about not believing that Beverly's right. Does that make sense? So that's one of his principles is I have to, the consumer that's working with us, they have to believe that our process is the process that's right. They can't believe that Beverly's right. And that's where that I feel with seeing this and trying to figure out what stance is going to be taken in the battle that's going to happen. Now, that's where the RPAC money comes in. That's where the money go in to fight this and hang on to the structure. But it's going to change. It's just a matter of time. And so what are you developing the capabilities and the systems and the processes to articulate your value to where the consumer sits down and goes, oh, yeah, that's the process that I need to help us accomplish whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. And I think that's even, Bev, how an agent coming out of school can compete with somebody even like you. And so that's just, it has to happen. I mean,
well, an interesting perspective when you talk about agents coming out of school, you hear all the time, well, why should I go through the CHBA? Why should I go through I don't even have a buyer yet. Why would I do that when I don't even have a buyer? I need to go get a buyer. Well, but the reality is you can go get a buyer, but what are you going to do with them if you don't know all of those pitfalls? And I've seen it here firsthand. When you have stories and you see what happens to buyers because they chose an agent that didn't protect their investment, it's horrific. But the average person doesn't understand all of the negotiations that can go bad if they don't have an agent that is knowledgeable within that field. And for example, one of the agents here, he had an out-of-town buyer that was coming from New York into Atlanta. His job was starting on the 24th of June. Put a contract on a home. They were at $411,000 and it was listed at $405,000. So it wasn't escalated ridiculously, but the appraisal came in at like $364,000. Well, they contested the appraisal. Now, meanwhile, they contested the appraisal, wasting 5 days of time instead of just going to a different lender and doing both processes at the same time. They waited, and guess what happened? What happens when you contest an appraisal? You're looking for what, from 364 to 411? I've never seen appraisal come anywhere near, right?
Right.
So really you wasted 5 days of time. Then the agent says, I'm so loyal to the lender, I don't want to tell him to go to another lender. It looks like the deal's just kind of done. So we went and wrote on another contract And I told that listing agent that we wrote on that we were under contract, that we were working on an appraisal issue. So they didn't accept the offer. I'm like, ding dong. So now he's jacked up 2 homes. And Mr. Buyer has his, or Mr. Seller in New York has his home under contract in New York. They did end up switching lenders 2 weeks later. And John, he had to find a place to put his furniture, find temporary housing before he could move in and close. He was 2 to 3 weeks late closing on that house. How much money did that cost that buyer?
Yeah. It's outcome over ego, right? And it's about getting to right, not about being right. And that's like from just a personal development, like grasping that concept, right? Is like, am I trying to protect being right, or am I open to all the possibilities of getting to right? What is right? And it's that mental process. And a lot of just human beings don't understand that. And like, if you can like develop and put that into your toolbox to be able to use, not even in your freaking toolbox, on your tool belt, right? To where you can grab that bad boy at any time. Am I trying to be right here, or are we trying to get to right? And it serves us in such a powerful way. And you see it all the time. It's just like, dude, your ego's in the way. You're protecting from what is right here. And so I think that's just fundamental, for the development. So, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just trying to shine the light of truth and understanding, hey, the game's going to change. How are we going to adapt? Right? It's just, Jake, I agree with you 100%, man. It's the model. So it's right things, right order all the time, right things, right order. And it's what is the vision, right? What is the goal? What is the model? So this talking about our business, knowing what is going to happen, potentially could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, potentially going to happen. It will be disrupted. There will be way compensation changes as we get compensated in the future. Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? I don't know. But there will be a structure. There will be a change. We also know that there will be a market correction, right? We also know that there will be more and more model competition. There will be competition to EXP, right? We're already starting to see it. There will be that competition. And then there will be, as Dan Kennedy, a Darwinian thinning of the herd. There will be less and less agents, which is good.
Needs to happen.
Needs to happen. So knowing all of this stuff to possibly be true, never lose sight of the vision, but you have to adjust the model in order of pursuit to the vision. But once we know the model, we have to nail the strategy. What is the plan? And then what does our team look like in order for us to execute on the plan within the model in pursuit of the vision? So those 4 things. And, what's that?
Can I add a 5th?
Yeah, absolutely.
The ideal client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because while you're planning all of that and while you're looking at all of that, not everyone is going to fall into that category. However, if you're planning and you're strategizing all of that to the ideal client, because all marketing is solving the problem.
Join the conversation in their head.
When you have the solution and you know what their problem is, you can properly market to attract your ideal client. And that's just a big piece of not being overly frustrated with your business. Because if your ideal client, if this person doesn't get it and they don't want to utilize your services, so be it.
It's Gary Vee talks about all the time, right? It's just like too many agents are trying to be vanilla instead of focusing on Baskin Robbins, right? So it's like when you try to be something for everyone, you don't stand for anything.
You're nothing to nobody.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Knowing who your ideal ICP, ideal client profile, who your avatar, who your person is, whatever concept works well in your head, but you have to know that problem, right? Like who do you want to, it's the old, I'm not for everybody, but I can help everyone. And it's like, okay, so who is my person? I love it. Like, work with Jackie Bowman. She knows her person, right? To the T. Like, she knows her person's name, right? She's got it down that cold. And so really knowing who that ideal person is, that way, when you're building the model, when you have the strategy, and if you go through the strategic planning process and you use the tools that we use, VTO, from EOS, Gino Wickman's Vision Traction Organizer, you have to answer that question on the VTO. That's one of the questions in part of your marketing is who is your target audience, who is your target client, and then building the team. That's what it's all about. What's up, everybody? Man, I know Bev and I are just wrapping away here. So if you guys have any thoughts, questions, throw it into the comments. We'd love to help you guys with anything where you're stuck and help you guys rock and roll. Appreciate you jumping in. I know crazy schedule. I had to move some things around. I was like, oh shit, Kendra's on a flight. Let me see if Bev's available. Cool. What so what are some of the things that you're seeing clients kind of wrestle with, struggle with? Is there a common theme? Is there something that you've been seeing?
Buyers just being frustrated. I mean, that's really the common theme, and not having the talk about knowing your ideal client and being able to position. A lot of buyers want to buy, but where are they positioned financially? Because it is much more difficult. Am I echoing?
No, you're good.
I'm echoing on myself. So FHA, no money down, VA, they have a much more difficult time right now in the market on trying to obtain properties that are out there and properly educating them and being aligned with your partners can really take your business to a different level. Because if you're not with a lender right now that can literally take someone like that through complete underwriting and be able to write an offer that's basically good as cash and all you're waiting on is the appraisal, you're not doing your buyers any justice. So that value proposition now of being able, I have never been able to convert as many clients that say they have an agent before. I've always, conversion's been my thing, right? I've always been able to steal people from that say they have an agent. But man, it is so freaking easy right now because everyone's searching online because they're frustrated because they can't find the home that they're looking for. They've lost offers. So they just continue to look online. So we're getting a higher amount of people saying I have an agent. So we just ask them, what's the process been like? Tell me about the process. They don't have agency agreements signed. So when we tell them, when they tell us their process that we've written homes and we can't compete, what if there was a way that I could help you write a cash offer and be up against those other offers? What if there was a way that I could tell you that we could make that happen for you, that you could compete? Are they all ears?
Yes, they're listening.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, they are. This we were talking about this last night as offers were coming in. And Holly and I, we were thinking back to, the days. So when she came on board, when she got into the business, it was definitely a buyer's market, but we focused on writing the strongest offer possible, even in a climate when you didn't have to do that. But it was just seeing these offers come in. They're like, really? You haven't even where's the proof of funds? Like where's like all the stuff that you're telling us? It's like, and it's just like, man, like if you would have just took the time to put together, a 101 competitive, complete offer all together, then it's mind blowing. I mean, that's where the disruption is going to come. Just the
well, it's too
agents.
easy right now for agents to just blow it off to multiple offers. But there is something to be said of how the offer is written.
Yes.
Fill in the damn blanks. It's not that difficult. I mean, have your earnest money, and sometimes it's not about the price as it is about the terms.
Mm-hmm.
So be educated. And I think my biggest frustration is when I was looking at our market and looking at our competition, our biggest competition right now is Open Door. And, I'm looking through all the homes that have closed over the last 6 months, and Open Door came up more than any other company.
Yeah. Unpack that. How come that is?
I don't know yet. I think their concept is making it easier for the seller to sell their home online.
Yeah.
So that value proposition, but what's happening to those sellers is they're not getting the multiple offers like everybody else is, because nobody wants to write on them, because you can't talk to anybody, which hence my biggest frustration is if you reach out to a listing agent and say, how many offers do you have on a property? When are you calling for highest and best? And you get no response. It's freaking frustrating to me that there's listing agents out there that do not work in the best interest of their sellers, and the sellers have no idea. And there's even homes right now in our market that don't have offers on them, that have been on for 2 weeks, and you can't even get in to show it because they won't approve the showing time, and you can't get a hold of them. And that's why they're still sitting on the market.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the biggest frustration. And you can't really fix that until the home expires.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I think paying attention to kind of what those companies, Open Door, all those companies are doing is, how can you take a play out of their playbook? Because what it is sellers want it easy, right? I'll be honest with you. We thought we had our home sold weeks ago. Not even having to put it on the market, not having to go through and declutter completely, not go through and stage, not go through, take professional photos, not have to do an open house, not have to leave for the weekend to let showings happen. Like we were like weighing that option because of ease and convenience. We would have left a ton of money on the table had we done that. But we were contemplating with it, and I think mentally we were both okay with it. Mm-hmm. So what is human behavior? How can you join that conversation? And that's why those companies are getting a foothold, is because they're playing on ease and convenience and your terms. So I had a great expert mentors episode I did with Brian, Get Shit Done Daily. And his guy, he nailed it, right? His last name's Daily, so it's GSD. He's in San Diego, and they do investments, they do flips. And he's like, man, he says, as an agent, you have to position and align what those big companies are doing. Take a play out of their playbook. And so you look at what they're offering, and you even Zillow, right? What are they doing? They're offering as well. Now they don't end up buying it, but they end up taking that lead and selling it back to the real estate agents. But how could you position and do that? And so I know Al's running a big campaign in Cleveland right now. Instant offer CLE, I think, downsize CLE. Right? All about the ease, all about the convenience, all about, hey, on your terms. But what happens is that creates an opportunity. And then they have the conversation on, let's talk about what is important to you. And then let me educate you on what type of offers are happening in the market right now. There's an investment offer, right? There's a buy and hold offer. And then, top of the market, middle market, bottom of the market. Where do you want to be? based upon your goals, I would tell you that this is probably the best option. And to me, that's the process, right? Creating an opportunity, finding out their goals, educating them on different type of offers based upon their goals. This is probably what's best interest of you. And then here's our process. And man, I mean, it's just crazy to see.
Well, and a lot of what I hear now talking to agents, they're like, well, why would you want to do an instant offer or guaranteed sale in today's market? You don't need it. People are still curious. Yeah. And what we forget as agents is we're living, eating, breathing it. The people that are living in their homes aren't. No. They are not aware of what we have awareness of.
That's right.
So that offer still works today.
Yes, it does. Big time. Big time. Jake, you're right, brother. It is, man. It's just rewarded for bad behavior. You know, so an agent gets a listing and hey, it's sold. But it's like, I know we wouldn't have got the offer that we got if we didn't go through the process. If we didn't do the right things in the right order, if we didn't go through and declutter, depersonalize, stage, professionally staged, and professional photos, and online, create demand, only available during these times, right? It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's, you can't just throw it up there. You can throw it out there, put a sign, you're going to get offer, but is that the best offer that you could get? And the answer is going to be no. Mm-hmm. Especially as the market moves in the direction that it's going to move.
Well, there's been a lot of bad habits created in this market right now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, listening to agents going, oh my gosh, it's been on a week and I don't have an offer yet. And I'm like, isn't it crazy what this market has done to us? And it's really created bad habits. So moving forward, as our market is starting to shift, which we are seeing the shift, to your point, had you listened 2 months ago, it probably would have looked a lot different, a lot more showings, a lot more offers, because we're seeing that here. We're not seeing as many showings and as many offers now. And why is that? Are the buyers just done? Are they checked out? Not really 100% sure what's happening, but it's happening all across everywhere. Everyone's experiencing it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that. I think
the time. It's the time of the year too.
Seasonality. I think we have selective amnesia on the climate. You know, people have been locked up, and now they're having an opportunity to get out and be around other humans. They're taking advantage of it, and so it's cool.
Well, a lot of sellers don't want to list right now because they don't have anywhere to go to because there's not enough inventory.
Yeah, that's another great point, great strategy. Buy before you sell. Let's buy and then we'll sell, because we can get it positioned and on the market fast and get it sold. So that's another great message to the market, right? So you're identifying the problem or the perceived thought in the seller's mind. How can your marketing message join that conversation in their head? And when you're able to do that, position your offer, call to action, then, you create those opportunities.
Well, I think a lot of agents miss the opportunity when someone says, well, I don't want to put my home on the market because I have no place to go to. Well, do you have enough data to be able to make an informed decision, or are you just making the decision based on assumption? It's get the proper number that a buyer would pay for your home right now so that you're looking at that number. Look at the opportunity that is or is not in the market and see, is there something that's going to meet your expectations within those numbers? So not just leaving the conversation at, well, I'm just not going to do it right now. Yeah. Really dig in and ask them, would it be helpful to be looking at actual numbers to see? And agents, I see in the Facebook groups constantly, I have a buyer looking for a home in this area. I'm like, go get it. Like, go get it. Like, why are you asking other agents for your next listing opportunity? Go into that market and find out, do some homework.
They don't want to work. They don't want to work.
And old expireds are still my absolute favorite.
You know, you know this. I mean, I think just because of our market that we grew up in, what conditioned us, and just you had to pay attention to the details, right? When your average sales price is close to 100K, you got to pay attention. And I think too, the other challenge that I see is we've always said it, high price point agents get rewarded for bad behavior, and they can skip steps. They can be a little lazy when you're cashing, $15,000, $20,000 checks. Most people don't have to sell very many of those to, survive.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Bev, always appreciate you jumping in and hanging out and pinging and ponging, and definitely know we'll do it again for sure in the future.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you later.